Hey, welcome back to another video, friends. My name is Megan, and I'm a freelance writer and editor and a published author. I saw a debate break out on Twitter recently about whether or not it's worth the financial investment to hire an editor for your manuscript. So that's what I want to explore today. As always, I'm sharing my own personal opinions, and I welcome you to politely disagree with me in the comments if you have another perspective that you'd like to share. For context, I can probably count on one hand the number of books that I have edited. Most of my editing has been for shorter pieces of content. I did hire an editor once for a previous manuscript, and also because of the line of work I'm in, I've just met and communicated with a lot of freelance editors. So that's where I'm coming from in this video. Now, is it worth it to hire an editor? We need to be a lot more specific because it's not that black and white. First, we need to consider that there are different types of editors. Copy editors, for instance, are checking for things like grammar, punctuation, and consistency. Developmental editors, on the other hand, are looking at your story from, like a much higher level to better assess the structure and the flow of your manuscript. This means that if you are considering hiring an editor, you need to know which type or types you want. Because I've been writing and editing for a long time and I have a really good eye for detail, I personally wouldn't invest in a copy editor. It's just not something I struggle with. I would invest in a developmental editor because I struggle with pacing and stakes. Paying an editor is not worth it if you hire the wrong type. So that's number one. Second, you need an editor familiar with your genre. Some people will disagree with this. That's my opinion. My current work in progress is supernatural. I wouldn't go to a developmental editor who works exclusively with, for instance, romance. You need someone who knows that segment of the publishing industry, what the expectations are, what readers are looking for, and so on. They need to know that part of the business. Okay, so you need to determine the type of editor you need, and you know that you should get one who's, at least in my opinion, who's well-versed in your genre. Is that enough to pull the trigger? Not yet. Let's talk about the money. Editors can charge any amount of money. If you hire a freelancer who's newer to this line of work, you might and should, in my opinion, get a better deal. More experienced editors will, of course, charge more. Ask for references. Ask to speak with current or past authors that they've worked with. I could tell anyone, oh yeah, I've edited manuscripts, but how do I prove that I know what I'm doing? I provide references, and I tell the author that I'm speaking with, go talk to those people to really learn what it's like working with me. This is simply doing your due diligence. It's no different from looking up Google or Yelp reviews before going to a vet or a dentist or wherever. Let's say everything checks out and you're thinking of investing in an editor. How much is this worth? There is no right answer here. It's worth whatever you deem it's worth, whatever you are willing to pay. And I would say that about hiring a lot of professionals. That may or may not align with what they're charging. If an editor is way out of your budget, then you probably have to pass. There are affordable options out there, editors charging less and still providing a great service. If you've done your due diligence, it's hard to get ripped off. Before you pay, you should have a really good idea of what you're getting. That brings me to my next point. Let's say the price is right. You think this is the perfect editor for you. How can you make the most of this relationship? Here are a few things I learned both as an editor and someone who worked with an editor. Number one, set clear expectations from the beginning. This is something that you're going to do together. That editor probably has their own process. Let them guide you, but also don't be afraid to politely speak up if you know there's something specific you're going to need. Part of setting expectations is being clear about timelines. Your editor should be able to give you at least a rough idea of when they'll be done. That brings me to number two, communicate frequently. Not every day, but let's say your editor tells you that they'll be done in a month. Don't wait until a month later to check in, and maybe check in once a week just to get a status update and make sure everything is going okay and just to say hello. Number three, establish communication boundaries. Now this kind of goes along with setting clear expectations, a previous tip. Once you get your edits back, you might have a lot of questions or need clarification. make sure you know what's included in your editor's rates. How long after they've finished editing your manuscript do you have to continue communicating with them? Is there one final call where you ask all of your questions? Are they available for another 2 weeks via email to wrap up any loose ends? Clarify where your working relationship starts and ends, so they don't feel like they're being taken advantage of and you feel like you're getting what you paid for. Let's go back to the original question. Is hiring an editor worth the expense? If you do all of the things we've discussed, then yes, big yes. Editors can be invaluable to your manuscript. Every writer needs an editor, period. No writer is too good for this. The greatest authors in the world have editors. So if you think it's beneath you, no. Remember that we become, in a way, desensitized to our books. We stare at them for so long and read them so many times that we stop seeing mistakes or weak points. Our eyes gloss right over them. But when someone reads it for the first time with fresh eyes, they're going to see things that you completely missed. Let's say after all of this you decide or realize that paying an editor is simply out of the question. The next best thing, in my opinion, is experienced beta readers familiar with your genre, which you can do in addition to an editor, to be clear. I worked with beta readers for the first time for my current manuscript. A couple of them were so good, and then a couple of them, not so much. That's another video. But anyway, the good beta readers, I've learned so much from them that not only helped me make my current work in progress stronger, but these are lessons that I'm going to carry with me for a very long time. If you've worked with an editor, or if you are an editor, I'd love to know your thoughts, so drop me a comment and let me know what you think, and we can keep the conversation going. Whatever you're working on right now, I know you're doing a great job, I know it's amazing, and I can't wait to read it one day. See you later.